Are you becoming too frugal that you're now heading towards the cheap territory? Or are you on the other end of the spectrum and you like to spend a lot of money and you're just a little bit away from becoming a shopaholic? If so, this video is for you. It doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you sit in, whether you're too frugal or you shop a lot. We all know that nothing in extreme is beneficial. In fact, having a moderate balance is key to maintaining your long-term goals as well as your financial health. Myself being a frugal person, it's been quite hard and very challenging to actually spend money. This may come as a shock, and some people may say, like, isn't that a strength? Isn't that a good thing, Mihir? You're not spending money on dumb purchases. You have more money in your bank account. But the problem comes here that you don't make big purchases, which could be investments for you. Whether that be in your knowledge, whether that be towards your business, whatever. It really stalls you, and you think from money, and you equate money to being value directly, and that's not necessarily true. And I'll expand further on in this video. A really good example I can give is the suit jacket I'm wearing, and just suits in general. Normally suits and things like this, they're quite expensive and they're reserved for events like weddings, things like that. They're not meant to be worn all the time, but I want to wear it all the time, like they used to wear it ages ago. But the problem came with cost. So I was digging online and there was a formula called cost per wear. And simply to illustrate cost per wear, let's say you buy a $100 blazer, right? And you wear it twice a year. That's it. You just only wear it 2 times a year. The cost per wear for that blazer is $50. So you just do 100 divided by 2. That means it costs you $50 each time you wear it. And you would wear it more, but the thing is you got a cheap suit and you don't like it, hence why you also wear it less. Now let's say you bought a $500 suit and you wear it 3 times a week. You work 3 times in the office and you decide to wear 3 times a week, okay? And that equates to 156 wears a year. So 3 times 52, 156, right? Now if we divide $500 by 156, which is the amount of times we wear it in a year alone, that equates to $3 per wear. Just $3 per wear. How insane is that? And since this is a good suit, it will last much longer than the 1-year polyester suit, significantly longer. And then your cost per wear would decline. Just to give you another example, the chair that I'm sitting on, this one was purchased in 2009. I didn't even realize then. It was purchased then for around $50. Imagine the amount of times that I've used this chair. It's 2022 now. It's been like 13 years. The cost per use in this case will be significant. It will be less than a cent. Let's actually trend the numbers to show you how powerful this example is. So this chair was purchased in 2009 for $50. So let's just say I sit on this chair 3 times a week. I sat a lot more, definitely, but let's go with that. So 3 times 52 equates to 156. And let's multiply that by 13, indicating the years. So if we do that, that equates to 2,028 uses or cost per use of this chair, and which is very conservative. Now let's do 50, so the amount that was purchased, divided by 2,028, which is the amount of times it's been used. That equates to 0.025. That is less than 1 cent. How phenomenal is that? Now I want you to imagine this with other high-ticket items, things with suits, maybe computers, like high-end ones. Imagine how long they can run with just a little bit of maintenance. That's the power I'm trying to display. And many frugal people, we would have been like, nope, this never really crosses our mind because we just think of, like, low money. But if you have to keep buying the same thing again and again, in the long run, it doesn't necessarily equate to much better. And that's really what I'm trying to get down with this video. To expand on this point further, a good thing that frugal people do that spenders can pick up on is the idea of maintaining. How many people do basic maintenance? Even computers, or just anything you can think of. How many people do basic maintenance? Very little to none. And if I had to talk to you eye to eye, man to man or man to woman, we could all agree that if you maintain an item, it will generally last longer, right? The longevity will increase. No matter what it is, it will generally increase. It won't go down, it will generally increase. So why don't we do that? Frugal people are good at it, but spenders can take a note and really action on that. And the indirect cause with that is the cost per wear will go low. If you take care of something, you take care of your suit, you take care of a car, it will last longer. And it would cost less because you've used it more, which is phenomenal. But the main problem with frugal people that I have myself is just this idea and this mindset of money corresponding with value, or it doesn't it's very tied, it's very rigid. And the problem with that is you never want to spend more. You're like, okay, I can get this for 200. Why spend 500? But that small price gap of 300 can make a tremendous difference, which is what us as frugal people don't necessarily understand. That small linear, it's not linear like a linear gain, it's an exponential gain. So for instance, going back to my own life, I was very skeptical of like getting another monitor until I saw how to improve my workflow at work and things of that nature. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get another monitor. Sure, it may cost, let's say I'll get a higher end one, like 400. If I use it every day. So that's 356 times it's been used in a year. It's almost close to $1 already. And this monitor I have here, it's been around for like 7-8 years or so. So imagine the cost per use on that, and it costs around like 200. It'd be very little to none. And I maintain this relatively well. So these are some things that frugal people can do, but I hope you spenders are taking notes on this, because you want to learn from both sides. You want to learn from obviously the frugal people, but the concept is to be in the middle ground, sort of be there. Because if you go too frugal, you'll lose the sight of what's an investment. Just like how I alluded with that can enhance my productivity and indirectly give me more money and allow me to stay focused. And when I'm focused, I can get more work done in time. That means I can get work done quickly and I can spend more time with my family or doing other hobbies or activities I like. So see that sort of domino effect that comes with just making a bit of an investment? It pays huge dividends. An investment in knowledge and improving workflow plays a huge dividend. So I want you to think from that perspective. Now I'll move on to the spenders. To tackle spending isn't as hard as you think it is. Many people put it on a pedestal, but I have a lot of actionable steps you can take in this video to combat it. And myself being a spender, I can understand. And I believe that many of us have been spenders at one stage or another during our life. But how come we stop our poor habits and poor choices, but other people continue that lifelong, or maybe a significant amount of years? Why is that? So in this section, I really want to talk about the deep-rooted issue, which I believe if you solve this, like everything else is easy. You don't even need the actionable steps I present in this video, because this accounts for 80% of the solution to this problem, which a lot of people don't touch. They give you silly steps, which can easily, it's up to you to stop doing them. It's done. But I'll talk about it in just a moment, but let's identify what actually causes this. It's just simply habits. Frugal people have frugal habits. And normally how you ingrain habits are by watching your parents. That's the first way. Then the next is your peers and your friends. Then it's sort of what you do in your own time. But generally it stems from parents. So if you see your parents being a bit more mindful of spending, they're like, okay, maybe we can check Aldi instead of Coles. Or they read pamphlets, you're like, oh, I'll do that. Because you learn from your parents a lot more than you think. And then that will essentially translate you to being more cautious with spending money here and there, because you'll be like, oh, I can get this item at Aldi for $5 less, and Aldi's just there. So I'm saving like 20, 30 if I factor in all my groceries, which is phenomenal. That's almost how much I earn in an hour or something like that. So it's a stem of habits, but we can change habits. That's not a problem. But another thing that comes with habits, like you got to understand, habits come from where? Obviously you see someone, but where does that come from? It comes from their mindset. So the biggest issue is mindset, which I really want to talk about. And it's not going to be some whiffy, waffy, woohoo sort of crap. It's going to be realistic and really practical understanding. So before we touch on that, where do people actually spend money? Or where does this notion of struggling to spend come from? The problem comes from living above your means, or simply lifestyle inflation. And we've all experienced this one stage or another. We've got a new job, we've got a promotion, we're earning a little bit more, get some of that more disposable income where we can use it. But the problem with that is if we don't have good habits in place to ensure we don't spend more than we earn, or we spend as much as we earn, your expenses were similar to your income. You may have increased your income, but now that gap will be taken up by expenses somewhere or another, because you don't know how to keep money alive. Because of poor habits and just mindset in general, you just spend it. So, like I was iterating before, mindset. A mindset is the key pinnacle to the solution. If you truly understand the concept that money doesn't equate to happiness, or material in particular doesn't equate to happiness, you'll be so much more fulfilled. Because many people buy things because they get happy, or they get like a small spike of dopamine. That's really the reason, a small sort of spike. They're like, oh, I feel good. Let's say they buy some fitness equipment or something. They don't use it, but they're happy because they have the idea in the mind that they'll be doing exercising and stuff like that. They've been sold the dream. and they rather want to be in that state of bliss and happiness because other aspects of their life are stressful. So normally financial behavior like this, or any like sort of disorder or whatever you want to call it, is a result of other things in life. It just doesn't happen straight like, oh, this person just spends money. It's other factors. Maybe he's under a lot of stress. You know, she takes a lot of work. She's not getting enough sleep. Things like that really do tie into this. But the key idea is material does not equate to happiness. And some people can argue, disagree, but let me explain the hedonic effect. And I'm sure we've all experienced it at one stage or another. Don't lie. Do not lie. We've all experienced this. So the hedonic effect is basically the scientific, I guess, explanation of humans returning to baseline levels of happiness after extremely happy or extremely bad events. They basically return to baseline levels of happiness over time. And how much of that is true? You may have seen that everywhere. You've seen that, oh, you got the new job, you know, you're happy for like a week or two, but you're like, what's next? That's what I'm explaining here. If you truly understand that, you will not spend money by default. You will literally understand, will this make me happy? No. If it gives you joy and stuff, go with it. But like, you will know deep within your heart, you're like, yep. You know, if you feel a bit wavering, then you'll be like, no, this isn't it. But if you 100% feel like, yep, if I get this suit, I'm gonna be happy, go for it. That's what I'm trying to explain. If you nail this down, the other actionable steps, sure, they'll help. They're more auxiliary. This is like the compound. The other ones are auxiliary lifts. The compound ones are the ones that do the most work. And this accounts for like 80% of your success. It's like the Pareto principle, sort of. If you focus 20% on this, you'll get 80% of the results. So the way you actually improve your mindset is actually by reading more, reading personal finance books, sort of understanding what people say and what the tips are. So just understanding their perspective, because most people that are frugal, they generally come from a poor or not the best living conditions where they had to be frugal, otherwise they wouldn't, make it. Things like that. And also like reading biographies and just seeing the world, because if you understand that we are quite lucky to be in a first world country. If you're watching YouTube, you're quite lucky. We're not in a third world country necessarily where, there's a lot of violence, it's not hard to get jobs, the living conditions aren't the best. So if you really think about from that perspective and widen your horizon of thought, you'll understand how lucky you are. And then once you come from a place of gratitude, you'll understand that, I'm grateful for this, but I don't need this. I have everything I need. So that's a really strong and powerful thing. So definitely look into that, and especially gratitude journaling. That can tremendously help with that. Because it's not as a result of just spending more, there's other problems in your life that you got to tackle, which will indirectly fix this. Now moving on to actionable steps. Before I do that, please do not disregard what I just mentioned earlier about the mindset, because if you've got that down, everything will work. But now moving on, the first step I have for you guys you can take is to simply pay yourself first. Paying yourself first refers to the ideology of taking a portion of your payslip and just splitting it. So the author of Barefoot Investor, Scott Papp, has a good system of buckets, which are essentially bank accounts. But to make it simple, buckets. So you have the money coming in from the tap. The tap is the water, imagine it as money, and it's going into these buckets. There are 3 buckets. There is the splurge bucket, there is the mojo bucket, and then there is the long-term sort of wealth bucket. Splurge bucket, think of it as a bucket where you can spend money guilt-free. Let's say you put 10% of your income or 15, up to you. And then you have a mojo bucket, let's say you put like 50% of your income there. That's for like bills and stuff like that, or just a higher percent. And then the remainder you put like, let's say 40% or whatever, and that will go towards long-term saving. So you have 3 buckets or 3 bank accounts. So as soon as your payslip hits your account, automatically 3 portions are taken. So 1 portion goes towards the bills, 1 portion goes towards long-term saving or your investment portfolio, the other goes towards your spending or your splurge. And you should see that splurge bucket. You should be like, okay, I can splurge $100, That doesn't mean spend crazy, but you have the option to spend $100 guilt-free, or whatever the amount is. That can really take the stress off spending. But if you're someone who struggles a bit more and you need a bit more help, you can make those other bank accounts in your spouse's control or something. Maybe the bill goes to your spouse or something like that, or your close trusted friend. If you don't have those options, you can always go the term deposit route. The reason why I don't want to go there is because of the poor interest rates. It's not best to put it there, as well as record high sort of inflation we're facing. So your money's losing value and you're not gaining much through that. But if it's very serious and you need to put your money away because you just spend it, by all means, that can be a good viable step. because you'll take 2-3 steps back, but you'll move 10 steps forward if you develop this habit of saving. Now we've established you have a system that actually automates your life and makes it much easier to navigate with your finances. Now another rule I have, or another step I have you can think about, is the 48-hour rule. The 48-hour rule is simply a rule that is designed for you to do as soon as you want to make a big purchase. Let's say you want to purchase like a PlayStation or something. It costs $500, $600. It's a big purchase. You don't want to do this for little purchases, but bigger purchases, right? You want to basically sit on it for 48 hours. And most of the time when you do that, you'll realize that the item you actually wanted was really never that needed or worth it. You'll come to a conclusion that you'll either forget it or you'll just be, yeah, I remember, but yeah, you won't care. That can significantly just decrease your spending, because a lot of people spend money on stupid crap that they don't really need. And just by giving yourself time, just detaching yourself from the scenario, will save so much. Like imagine in sales, how do they force people to sell? They give you that time pressure. They do that in your head where they're like, oh, you know, if you don't buy this seat, buy this then, or if you don't buy this product, this deal won't end, it will end in 3 hours or something. And they apply pressure. Just think about the opposite. So if you don't want to spend money, increase the time horizon. Simple as that. So that's what you can do to sort of avoid these big ticket purchases. The next actionable step I have for you is something I personally hate, because it's very effective, but I just hate it. And it really makes me think a million times before making purchases. And that is to compare purchases with your hourly rate. So let's say you want to buy an item for $300. Let's say you earn $30 after tax. So it would take you basically 10 hours of working to get that item. Once you put it in that perspective, especially if you don't like your job or you're not, I guess, too happy, or it just takes a bit of effort and it's stressful, you really gauge things and you think a million times before spending. That is one of the surefirest ways to minimize or decrease your spending significantly, just by understanding that. Because if you want to buy, let's say there's $300 shoes, you're like, I mean, I can go buy some, you know, $50 ones or something. I can buy some $120 ones. Or if I do want to spend that much, why not buy some like Asics, maybe some $220 shoes, and then they last longer, so my cost per wear is lower. Once you shift that sort of mindset, then you can really benefit. So that's a really good step, and I hate it so much because it works and it really makes you think. So definitely include that in your actionable steps you can take. My last actionable step, I don't want to touch on budgets. Budgets have been talked a lot and you should have one, but it is to understand that you're going to spend money. So why not minimize what you can spend if you're going to spend it? What I mean is find alternative ways to purchase things. So for instance, AliExpress. AliExpress, you get stuff directly from China. Many things you think would be expensive are really not. Like for instance, this keyboard I have here. This baby cost me, let me get the light up, this one. It cost me $40. If I went to like a brand, let's say like Ducky or one of those ones, it costs $200 easily, especially these keyboards. So find ways where you can cut. And there's so many things you can do. Rather than buying maybe groceries from like Woolworths and Coles, maybe go to some like sort of Asian stores or some Afghanistan stores. There's a lot of stores like that you can go to. Or just find ways where you can subsidize or cut purchases. Simple as that. And there's so many videos, so much information, but it's up to you to take action. Overall, I hope this video was informative for both frugal people and spenders, as you got to understand that both extremes are bad. Many people would say, oh, you know, people spend a lot of money, bad, not a good thing. But being too frugal or being cheap is pretty bad. But where's the line between being frugal and cheap? That can be based on a personal, I guess, basis. But if you can't determine the value of something, or you're scared to spend money, that's not better than being a spender. Like, yeah, you have that money, but you'll always be in analysis by paralysis. So both are neither good. And I hope that you watch the whole video so you understand both perspectives and see, okay, these are some things I'm doing good. These are some things I can improve on. That way you actually improve in the end, because that's what I want. Because some spenders will be doing some good habits that frugal people can do, and vice versa. We can all learn from each other. But overall, thank you for watching this video. I hope it provided you value and you actually use the steps that I've actually said and improve your life. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.